Oh god, did I knock out the camera?
Huh?
Did I knock out the camera?
Yep, you knocked out the camera. John was excited to grab something before the stream started, and he they're still there. Your audio's still there, right?
All right, good. Yeah, you guys can still hear me.
Yep.
John, how do camera?
It's the I guess if you unplug it and replug it in.
Yeah. Oh, hey,
there
we
go.
did it. I did it. All right, cool. I slid in to first base and then
took out the basement.
But I have this delicious new Diet Coke, Zesty Blood Orange.
Oh.
All right, guys. Welcome to this Friday GigaCast. It's me, John Galvin, with also
Mark.
And then also
John Caspian.
Hooray, John Caspian. So yeah, as always, we have a bit to discuss in terms of new releases, stuff going on in the store, and yeah, we got a community discussion coming up towards the end of the stream, I think. So hopefully everyone's here watching and doing that sort of stuff. So yeah,
share the stream. Use the share button if you're on the phone, which you probably are.
So let's go over the spoiler.
Yes.
Games Workshop put out today. John, have you seen this?
Mm-hmm.
The new video? So Games Workshop put out a teaser like no other teaser trailer they've done before.
It's exactly what we would do.
Yeah. It is. I feel like it's an homage to us. I'm sure they watch our streams and do all that.
You know, better.
Of their malign importance.
So if you guys haven't watched it, we'll put the video in the comments, but it's been posted on all of our boards. It is definitely a Warhammer Age of Sigmar spoiler.
Yeah.
But it starts with a sunken ship. And it is definitely a new model. It is a hard plastic model. It's got all these new things. It is a broken down ship. So at the very least, we have new terrain coming out for the game. Yes, it is a sunken pirate ship. And as the camera zooms out, you see that it is in fact in an aquarium with a little fish swimming around.
No, well, that's the thing. Is it going to be pirates? It could just be a ghost fleet of any sort. Because it did seem to have like a Sigmar-esque piece at the front of it.
Yeah, so it definitely looks like a free people's ship that has been sunken.
Oh, God,
so we know, at least in the past, Games Workshop at LVO joked about fishmen being the next faction.
That's true. Maybe.
Which, like... So it's really hard to tell how Games Workshop's going to troll you nowadays.
So this might be a thing. Like, for example, with the new Death book, you have graveyards that you can place on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Like even in Warhammer or War Machine Hordes, you have the battle engines that spit out more, or even the terrain pieces that spit out more troops. Maybe they're just going to have things that spit out troops on top. Maybe that sunken ship is going to be a like something that just spits out troops.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a lot of things. Like, it could be fishmen. It could just be a new piece of terrain. Yeah. We did hear about elves coming in April, so it could be dark elves. They did have this whole, like, pirate raider theme.
The Corsairs.
Yeah, built into the dark elf stuff. So it could easily just be a terrain piece for that style of army. And once again, you could have dark elves piling out of a sunken pirate ship. Like, they're done raiding it, time to go into battle.
I like that.
So once again, like, we don't know what it'll be, but it's kind of like, I personally like the fact that Games Workshop is not only having fun, but kind of including us in the fun. Like, I don't feel necessarily like being like that we are the butt of the joke, but we are included with it. Yeah. So I really appreciate it. This is so different from the Games Workshop of the past. Yeah. It is less brooding and serious all the time. They're mixing in a nice little bit of humor with it.
That is one thing that the old fantasy Warhammer was. It's always brooding and serious.
Yeah.
Unless you played anything Greenskin, you were basically always like, we gotta fight or we're dead.
Yeah, barely surviving and all that.
Everything was heresy.
And that's something that they've not only done with Age of Sigmar, where they've included like a bit of hope in it.
Yeah.
Like especially with like the Stormcast and like Stormcast and the Free Peoples and all that, where they're like building societies. Like things are on the upswing.
Yeah.
At least right now. And same with 40K. Like, 40K, it's grimdark. In the future there's only war kind of thing. But the fact that Gilliman has come back, and the fact that Eldar have a new god to
essentially keep them away from some.
Yeah. So like, there's a bit of hope being restored in this world, which like gives the people who are playing a duality, right? Like, it kind of goes to your personalities. Like, do you want to play in something where everything's grim and receding, and like, you know, you're fighting for survival, like a post-apocalyptic feel, or, you know, like me, like more glasses half full kind of thing, where it's like, hey, Gilman's back, like the Imperium is on a resurgence, maybe they can pull this off, kind of thing. So
I definitely think they went more for, like, for example, before Gilman came back, you had the Imperium that was basically slowly being gnawed on every single side. It was shrinking. Like, basically, planets had exterminatus put on them. The Tyranids showed up and ate a few planets. It just, or you lost it in general. Like, there really wasn't any growth or anything. But now that they've basically been backed into a corner, you can now have, you know, the resurgent chaos as your faction. You're not like just poking your head out of the eye of terror every now and then to just stab at the Imperium. You actually have swaths of the galaxy under your control. So just every faction seems like they have their place in the universe after the rift opened. And
so, like, at this point, everyone has a chance of winning.
Yeah.
Not just, like, instead of you're just like, hey, your faction of choice, like, you know, Eldar Tau, Necrons, you know, Imperium, Chaos, all that sort of stuff. It's not necessarily, it's like, it's less about when you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, you might have a chance of pulling this off. Like, you know, it might be a long shot to get there, but there is that bit of hope, which I think is really important to some players. Like, I know with me, like, the grim dark part, like the idea of no matter what you do, you're still dying out, like dwindling down, was not my cup of tea.
Yeah, and so that's what the Empire was in Old Fantasy too. It's like, all right, we're barely holding on. We got like 2 votes to become the Emperor. And so everyone else hates me, but I finally got the job. And my empire's collapsing. I got to keep it together.
That's why I like the Drukhari.
It got kind of
they kind of dwindle their clones. They enslave people. Best of both worlds.
So since
or not,
you might know this, John. Since they are good with souls and stuff, with all the soul stones that the regular Eldar have, do they just transfer their soul into the clone or something?
That's not you, John.
Yeah,
not me, John.
Sorry, I was reading comments. I didn't hear what you said.
Is that what they do?
Yeah, don't pay attention to David.
I was saying, like, do the Dark Eldar, like, transfer their soul into the new clone body? Since they're good at soul stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my particular thing is the homunculus stuff.
Okay.
All the racks and all the torturing, experimenting. That's the cool stuff.
Yeah.
I saw someone do a rack conversion up at work.
Was that that was John Castor.
Yeah, John. All right, That's what I sound familiar.
That's one of the things. So expect after the Daughters of Cain. So Daughters of Cain looks like it's going to be a relatively short release, probably like a 2-week release. Then we're probably going to go back to 40K after that. So we know we got 3 codexes coming, and not only 3 codexes, but some new models. But in April, we're supposed to see another new Age of Sigmar faction, which is exciting because I feel like there was about a year break without anything of Age of Sigmar. And so now that there's new releases and all that coming back into the game, it's growing again. Like, you know, we're getting our community back. Big thanks to Bobby Clark, who's been running
Monday Age of Sigmar.
Yeah. I mean, just having a consistent day, we're seeing more and more people coming, new people trying it out. Mark had his game with a new player last Monday. The Great Unclean One is gross in Age of Sigmar. Just unkillable.
Yeah. I think I had 9 wounds on it, and it was back to full.
Yeah. A couple turns later. Yeah. But yeah, so we're seeing a lot of people back in Age of Sigmar, and I think a lot of that is due to having consistent play day, but also like new releases. Like, even if it's not an army you're going to play, you're going to know that someone else is going to start playing that army, and that means another person to play against, right?
Yeah, or new experience in playing the game because it's a new faction.
Yeah.
So you have your own faction, but still you can face, like, for example, when the Caradon Overlords came out.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I get to fight giant oat limbs.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's one of those things where it's definitely keeping the meta flowing. So introducing new armies, new rules, and things like that keeps the game from stagnating. Yep. And not only has Games Workshop kind of figured this out a while ago, but other game companies are moving towards that, where they're less concerned about, you know, small little small little releases, but doing more like sweeping changes, like having a new army come out or like a new rule set, like a new like campaign or whatever.
Yeah.
If you change the rules just a little bit, like for everyone, or give someone something new to play against, it's going to keep the game growing and evolving. And yeah, the dust doesn't really settle, especially with 40K, because there's always like a new faction coming out and all that sort of stuff. But it keeps the game exciting. What was working, 3 months ago may not work after this new army releases, because it has, it brings a new model to bear or changes the rules on something from the past that makes your list no longer as effective as it was before. So you can change.
You might need a way to protect your heroes more.
Exactly.
This army is really good at taking out your key features of your army.
Yeah.
And before, you just have them sit behind a horde of guys that would take all the hits.
Yeah, and we see the same thing with like War Machine and Hordes with the CID process. The fact that they're introducing new armies over and over really keeps the game shifting and changing and interesting.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the third team.
Yeah. So yeah, like it's a great time for like tabletop wargaming. And we'll get kind of talk later on in the stream. We'll talk about getting into tabletop wargaming. I know most of our watchers have either played 40K or do currently play 40K or some other tabletop war game or skirmish game. So, but we wanted to talk about getting new people in the game, but we'll do that after other stuff. Yeah. So we talked about new stuff coming. What's coming this week, potentially this afternoon, is the new Age of Sigmar Shadespire warbands.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting two. John, I'm not sure. Have you done research on these guys? Have you read the articles and things?
No, I've been focusing on the new player guide and the website and whatnot for the last several days. Yeah. I almost haven't even opened web browsers. It's ridiculous.
Oh my god! So yeah, we have two new warbands coming out. One is the Spike Claw Swarm, which is a new Skaven warband, which has some pretty cool, exciting rules. And the other one, the Chosen Axes.
They're Fire Slayers.
Yeah.
Fire Slayers, I think I'm trying to convince John to get those guys. Amazing. Like, I think one of their cards even had the ability to, if you're going to die and you roll on the dice and you roll well, you can just negate that damage. Like, it just really shows the resilience of dwarves, especially ones that have Urgold in their rune form.
So I might pick up the Fire Slayers just because I've never really painted dwarves before. The fact that it's only 4 models seems cool, and it's a good counter to Mark's Iron Jaws, the orcs.
Which, speaking of, if you want to get basically a board game-esque version of Age of Sigmar, it's really good for that, because you can use them in both the tabletop form and on the Shadespire board as well. Like, I used them in the Age of Sigmar tournament and had a lot of fun with the Iron Jaw unit. Yeah, so each one of these Shadespire warbands, they're completely usable in the board game, but they're also playable in Age of Sigmar. They have their own points and rules for their respective factions. So, like, you pick up the Iron Jaws for the orcs, they work in Iron Jaws faction for Age of Sigmar, or any other destruction ones. And in fact, they're like 80 points? Yeah, I was going to say, their price tag is not too bad for fitting them in your army. Yeah, so if you ever need, like, a spare 80 points in your destruction army, pick up the Iron Jaws thing.
It's a lot.
One of the neat things with the both the Fire Slayers and the Skaven one is that they split the warband into 2 parts in Age of Sigmar. So you're going to get one Lord choice or hero choice with it. So you're going to have an independent character, and then you're going to get a unit that follows them around, and they will benefit each other. So, like, I know the Skaven one, Spike Claw, the leader, the hero he becomes in Age of Sigmar, he can deflect shots into his swarm unit. So, and then he can also bring D3 models back. He can heal D3 models as long as it's not the other named character. Yeah, the almost trusted. Yeah, almost trusted. Something almost trusted. Yeah, I definitely like that title. It's like, ooh, I really want to give you more responsibilities, but I don't think you're there yet. Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of trust you to take a shot for me, maybe. So these are really cool. They can also be used in the Shadespire board game, which has been picking up a lot of momentum. We just got our first organized play kit in, and we're trying to ask the community what day people want to meet up. Like, I'd love to get a consistent day for Shadespire, because that's going to be one of the ways to build the community. So I need a couple of folks from the community of Shades, or couple folks who have Shadespire that want to grow the community, that will commit to having a consistent day, whether it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We don't care. Whatever day you're available to be here, let us know, and we can get the game growing. I'm picking up a warband. Mainly I want to paint the models, but I wouldn't mind learning how to play the game. The game itself, for those who don't know, it is a board game, but it has a deck building element into it as well.
Yeah.
You've looked at your cards, right? Or know a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it comes with cards, and you can even get the promotional cards.
Yes,
from the
OP
thing,
kits.
Yeah, and but you have a lot of cards that are specific to your faction.
Right.
And then there's generic ones as well, I believe. So far, I've only played the demo, so it's what you got is what you got there, but...
So, I mean, like the core mechanics, like you have a deck of cards, you shuffle it, and then you draw, and that's how you play.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll have abilities to either like generate victory points or affect your opponent or your own model in a buff it. But also, the neat thing about it is that the board is not stagnant as well.
Yeah.
Each person places a piece of the board down, and so basically the shape is defined before the game even starts.
Right.
So you might have like one that's just corner to corner almost, or just straight regular board where it's a rectangle. But like it also affects where you can place your models. There are specific starting points on the board, so it's pretty different every time you play it.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And with it, like, so you have your deck of cards. Some are generic, some are faction abilities. You'll be able to manipulate and change it through organized play kits or as other stuff comes out. Can you activate? So each one of your models will have generic abilities it can do, but it can only do special abilities as they're listed on the card themselves, correct?
Correct. And things like, for example, they get like 2 actions, just like, I guess, HeroClix-ish.
Gotcha.
But if you decide to charge, it burns like all those actions, and you can't reactivate it until the next turn.
Gotcha.
Like that.
Yeah.
But it's it's a I get to punch you before you punch me situation.
Well, yeah. So if you guys are interested in Shadespire, I know Jason Becker just said Shadespire Tuesdays. Jason, if you want to bring Shadespire and be consistent with it, I will start making events and advertisements and all that sort of stuff to get people up here on Tuesdays to play Shadespire with you. Yeah. I know we have. I think like 3+ other people that just got into it this week alone.
Nice.
So it's definitely a growing game. And I got to say, out of board games that Games Workshop has released, this one seems the most well-developed, thought out, and also supported from them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we are... I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. After the Fire Slayers and the Spike Claw Swarm that comes out this week, that's pretty much what we know in terms of army releases. So everything that comes out after this point is going to be all news to us. So I'm excited to see where they go from here.
But that gives you 6 armies to choose from.
Yeah, that is a tremendous amount of options, especially for a board game like this. So all of the major allegiances are represented. So, you have chaos, destruction, death, order. Some of them are represented twice. You have both...
You have Skaven and the Corn guys.
Chaos.
You have
Fire Slayers and the Stormcast.
Yeah.
So and
then Death and Destruction.
It definitely looks like a cool game. I think they're going to do a Goblin Warband at some point.
That's going to be really especially Stigmalic guy.
Oh yeah. So definitely keep an eye on that. And with that, Age of Sigmar organized play. There's also the Dread Solstice, which just started yesterday, right?
Bobby's gonna.
Yeah, Bobby's running that. We're going to have our Age of Sigmar meetups on Monday. So if you guys come here and participate in the campaign, it'll go towards the Dread Solstice campaign, in which y'all will be able to affect the storyline and progression and all that sort of stuff.
That's definitely one thing I enjoy that they've been doing more recently. Just everybody has been like, hey, play these games, tell us how it happened, and we'll write a story about it.
I'm not sure if you saw, but like apparently the Firestorm army boxes that they did a while ago, which was a combination of different cities and all that, was a result of another narrative campaign that they did before.
Yeah, you decided the fate of 3 cities, and so those 3 cities basically had whatever faction originally represented them and Stormcast that supported them.
Right, yeah. So it was one of those, it was a cool thing, and we're expecting a similar outcome with this Dread Solstice, whether it determines like new characters that are coming out or just storyline and potentially new like army boxes and things like that, where they'll mix and match things depending on how the campaign ends up going. So that is happening on Monday. So if you guys haven't tried out Age of Sigmar yet, you want a demo, you want to see how the game's played. We had a great success at our last tournament this past weekend. Yeah. Mark played in every round of it, and
I only won one game, but
hey.
No, but that's it. I only won one game, but I had a lot of fun in all 3 of them. So.
Yeah, not about winning.
Yeah,
I almost never win.
It was our biggest turnout for an Age of Sigmar tournament yet, which is fantastic. One of the players, it was his first tournament, and he ended up winning it, which was pretty exciting to see. This one
was pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, Age of Sigmar has been a great game. It's been growing and progressing, and I absolutely love to see what the community's doing. We have a lot of gorgeous armies that showed up. Like I judged the best painted one, and it was a tough call. We had so many good options and entries in it. So yeah, definitely check it out on Mondays. Or if you have another day that you want to meet up for Age of Sigmar, let us know, and we'll try to get other people up here for it. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. So yeah, that's what was happening last weekend and coming up this. But we have some events coming up tomorrow, for one, and then the next couple weeks after that. So tomorrow is our Valentine's team tournament. So if you guys haven't heard about it, it is a 3-person team. Is a 40K, 2,000 points, ITC rules, all that sort of good stuff in it. But yeah, it is happening tomorrow. So how the system works is that 3 people are on a team. When you are paired against another team, it's not all 3 of you playing on one board, kind of like a mashup thing. It is you get to choose the matchups that you have. So one person is going to be a defender, and then you'll have 2 attackers. The defender gets to have his choice of 2 attackers, and then everyone else is paired up from there. So it's a great way to play like a army that wouldn't necessarily like work on a general all-comers tournament. Yeah. But like this one, you're able to kind of choose your matchups and like kind of skew your lists a little bit more than you would be able to before. So yeah, that's going to be this Saturday. We're opening early. I'll be here at the crack at 9, I think, maybe earlier than that, to get people registered and in the door and all that for this tournament. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone there for that event. And so I think that's the only big event going on this weekend, right, John?
Yeah. There's a whole bunch coming up in March. I know that. It's a crazy month.
Correct. Yeah. So ending out February before we get into March. So not this Saturday, but the next Saturday is going to be our War Machine and Horde Steamroller, where I actually get to play in it. So it's pretty exciting. Jesse's running it, so you don't have to
let him crush you.
That, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, so we're getting a lot of folks showing up for that. We have a lot of people coming in, hopefully from out of town for it. I'm hoping to see a lot of folks out for the War Machine and Horde tournament. And the following one is the tiered tournament on Sunday for 40K. Rob Bristow's organizing this one. And once again, it's going to have an A tier and a B tier, or however it's described. But basically, you'll have your more competitive tier and a more casual tier. So if you don't get a chance to play, or you want to play a more fluffy list, casual tier is going to be a great spot for you. Or if you just want to go to your normal like 40K tournament, bring your A game. You've played a lot of tournaments in the past. It's a fantastic tournament to play in. And it's a great way to kind of interact with the community and all that. So I know a lot of people have fun matchups just because they're paired against similar-minded opponents. So,
Jeremy, I believe there will be room for...
Yeah. There's going to be plenty of room for open play, especially with the expansions after the X-Wing Regional. We will not be short for table space for a very long time. So don't worry about open play or not. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to reiterate that when we were announcing it, is that it's a very, very, very rare instance to be no open table space.
Correct, yeah. And we will let you guys know way in advance in terms if there's a tournament that's going to have, like...
such a large turnout.
It's going to take over, I think, like 60 people showing up for a tournament to really, like, prevent us from having any other events going on. And even that, like, if we plan in advance. Let me go grab the door, Mark.
Yeah. But
go ahead, Mark.
I know the X-Wing tournament, we've been fine on managing table space. We've rearranged the store to basically make more use of our space, and we have the tabletops that we just got a metric crap ton of that we can set up tables throughout the store if that's needed. But yeah, basically we're ready for pretty big events now. It's been away since the X-Wing Regional, and I think it's going to take another X-Wing Regional-esque tournament to really have us announce that we don't have the table.
It was 139 players, right?
Yeah. I just always ran out to 140. Yeah, it's crazy.
I love it.
It ran like clockwork. I think we had it predicted going till 4 a.m. and we had everything basically clearing up around 12:30. Yeah, it lasted until 1. It was, yeah, it was really well organized. Everyone just was the perfect size gear in the machine at his Giga-Bites.
Mm-hmm.
The gear inside the RoboMech. The Giga
That's
Robo.
awesome.
Yeah.
But looking into March, what do we got going on there? Because I've been busy behind the scenes. We're going to talk about when John was saying, we want to focus on how to get people into the game. I'll talk to you about that in a second. But let's get to March events first. What else coming up?
The most important event is my birthday.
Happy birthday!
The 29th.
29th?
Yeah. So,
there was a heated debate amongst your friends on whether it was the 23rd or the 29th.
All right.
I thought it was the 23rd.
Oh, come on, John.
Aw.
Half a decade.
Yeah, only. But no. What do we have in March so far?
I know Legion.
Yeah, that's the 22nd, right?
Yes. We get our demo set on the 8th.
Oh, nice. So I know we had some issues with getting Mark to the store that does demos, but for those of you who might be worried that we don't, we will be doing Legion demos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we will.
And that should be rectified soon. Painting. Oh, there's actually a painting competition for the.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Malign. Yeah.
So you're going to have to get a malimportance dude to paint up.
Well, I mean, if I'm going to get the dwarves done, it's going to have to be the ordnance guy. So I think they did a great job. I reviewed all 4 heroes that they released with the malimportance. And just I think out of all of them, my favorite is the goblin. Just because he's just he believes he's a prophet, but he's probably just, the way to describe it, he's just hopped up on shrooms. And no one's going to argue otherwise that he's not a prophet. And but he's fairly fragile until you realize that he has most of his resilience in the form of him not being able to feel anything at all from getting stabbed. Yeah, no. So he has for lack of a better term, a 5-up feel no pain, as well as just the ability to throw out like spore clouds around him and just damage everything. He's like a real fun character that it's gonna be fun to try to get him in the front lines. And the nice thing is, in Age of Sigmar, a lot of times people try to throw mortal wounds on characters, and that's something that ignores armor, but does not ignore things like the feel no pain. So he'll be a fairly resilient model on the table. It's gonna be really good. Oh, and we have the Orlok gang stuff showing up.
Oh, dude, yes, the Orlocks look so good.
Yeah, they do. So, do you know the theme behind them? Are they more of the like? They look like you're trying to.
Gang.
Yeah, well, they look like
they're
you're
more
basically
techy. They're less like Kim, right? They're more tech. They don't have like chemicals like the not Escher. Oh my gosh, no, Escher does do chems, but they're not jacked up or anything. They're just regular dudes.
No, they're not like the 2 previous gangs, but they look like they would be more like former Imperial Guard members.
They look similar, almost to cultists minus the culty stuff on them. But I think their aesthetic is similar to cultists if you like that kind of the regular guy. They got a bunch of like leather straps and stuff, right? Hey, David.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up?
Yeah. Okay, cool. We broke the computer. Oh, yeah. All right, cool. So it's still going. Yeah.
I needed to walk around because my legs are starting to hurt from sitting down too much.
I didn't even know this was coming.
David, what are you excited about in the new GW stuff?
That thing.
Oh, I have no idea. Probably the Orlocks.
8 traps. Oh.
Look at those guys.
All
How
right.
many models are in the box?
We'll have
The Orlock box?
Yeah.
And Warlocks.
This is just the top of the tower. They just repackaged.
Yeah, they repackaged the Age and Vortex too. So yeah, we got new Warlocks with cards and sleeves and stuff like that.
But I will say that that is a good repackage.
Yeah.
That looks so cool.
Oh yeah, so here they are. So the warbands we talked about earlier, the Chosen Axis has arrived. And if you don't really feel like painting too much, they are a colored plastic. So you do stand out on the table.
You can have bright orange dwarfs.
Yeah, I mean, come on, that's fire right there.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then because they're dirty rats, they'll be brown on this
Skaven
one.
poop
Yeah.
card.
But no, like they have a nicely crafted warlord-esque character. He has the same hat that the previous warlord had from the Island of Blood box. Basically, looks very similar, except he doesn't have the banner.
Yeah, it's
jumping.
like Skaven. I'm a general hat.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
I'm a general.
This is plus
Look at
one
me.
leadership.
Yeah, sure. He's at 2, right?
Yep, and shoot, I wish I had the name of the guy that helps him, but yeah, he has the almost trusted guy in there, and is it 2? Yeah, you'll have 2 other rats with him. So it seems Korn still has the highest model
It's only
count.
4 models.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, is
It's at least 3 of
Or
them.
do they have duplicates of some of the models here?
Yeah.
There's 3. Guys.
Oh, 5 fighters. There's 5.
in total.
Okay, so you have one more than that. They only showed.
They show
Oh,
5 on the back.
All right, so I can't count. All right, well, we'll leave it at that. Yeah.
So one of the cool things is, it has less than. It has less than corn.
Oh, back to work. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Go on now. So yeah, the Skaven guys only have 5 in there, but you're returning one of the non-named guys back to play throughout the game.
They have like a harpoon gun. With this.
That's cool.
Yeah. Jeremy asked about mixing Skaven and Zangors. Jeremy, you get a
Allegiance. Chaos, right?
Well, yeah, so there's Allegiance Chaos, but you can still keep it Allegiance Zinch if you wanted to. You get an ally allotment every time you build an army. So it depends on how much you want to split between Skaven and Zangors. But yeah, you could theoretically do, pure or like Zinch with a Skaven allotment, or you can do 50-50 and just go with the Chaos bonuses instead of the Zinch bonuses.
Yeah. But if you do the larger proportion Zinch, you can go the Allegiance for Zinch, affecting your Zinch section.
Yeah.
25% can be a different army, but you receive no Allegiance bonus of any kind.
Yeah.
So that's what I did in the Age of Sigmar tournament. Is I took a giant with my orcs and just had that stomp on the other end, but he never got any of the bonuses that the Ironjawz got, but every other Ironjaw unit did.
Yeah. So it's a way to mix and match your army without having to destroy your faction bonuses, which is kind of cool. I think that's a good idea for them. So yeah. With that, the Shadespire. Oh, Gang War. So Gang War has all the rules for the Orlocks in it, which is pretty nice. And I haven't seen this yet, so let's see.
Some backstory on them would be nice.
Yes. Yeah, there is a lot of backstory. There's at least 6 pages of backstory for the Orlocks, then with all their rules and things like that. But it also does give you a look at hired guns. So this gives you the look at the squat guy,
Space
Dwarf, and a bunch of other of the like mercenaries that are coming out that Forge World has like shown. So another bounty hunter, things like that. So there's a lot of things in here for your Necromunda games. And I know Ricky Kia is looking at scheduling a day for it. This is the 3rd game released, so we will see what's going on. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
So you want to get into?
Yep. So it's picking up steam. So we got these things that are coming out like today, tomorrow.
Yes, the official release Saturday.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, that covers most of the new releases. The Orlocks is a big one that I slipped my mind altogether.
Yeah.
Did you show off the Bad Zone Delta tiles?
The what? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Voila.
So this is one of the new tile sets coming out for Necromunda. So if you guys are still playing it towards the like board game aspect that released with the Yes. Then that's a way to continue that and also add variety to that as well. So it's pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, I look forward to. I actually haven't played a demo yet.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out. I've only seen the demo of the board game version, so.
I've played tabletop games twice since September, so.
That's real sad, John. But you're coming back down in March. That's another event that's coming up in March, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
When exactly, John?
Yeah. When are you coming down so everyone can schedule games with you?
It should be. It's like the 14th through the 18th. I want to say it's like a Wednesday through Friday.
Yeah.
It's a small time period, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make the best of what you got.
Well, cool. So yeah, definitely we'll be posting up about John's vacation down here, so you guys can play games with him and all that sort of stuff as the details come up. But yeah,
it'd be fun. Warzone,
Absolutely.
Dusts, 40K, and I guess I'll
Some
do
more
some
games.
Star Wars Legion demos.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
absolutely.
It's
Oh yeah,
gonna be exciting. Wait,
it's being painted right now.
Yeah. By Matt Ballou.
Yeah, by Matt Ballou. But we do have, I want to say, at least 3 to 4 boards worth of terrain for Legion coming into the store that will be fully painted by Legion release. So all of you guys who haven't had a chance to kind of really look at the game, we'll at least have beautiful tables for you guys to admire during demos and such.
So it's what? Tatooine terrain? Moisture farm?
So we have Moisture Farm. I think we have 2 Moisture Farm terrain sets. We have 1 forest one, so like we got
nice.
Endor going. And then I think we have 1 Imperial specific terrain. So I think it's like an Imperial barracks.
Yep.
we
So
need
get
the
ready to
shield
hear-
generator from Hoth.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen the Imperial terrain section yet. I've only seen the Tatooine and the Endor styled ones. So maybe
We should, in fact,
maybe-
we should bring like an I guess a scale model for AT-AT and put it at like
Oh,
one
yeah.
end, and then have it like as a mission objective.
Speaking of scale models, have you guys seen the ATST?
No.
They did a size comparison on it. If you have the legs like super vertical, it's taller than a knight.
Oh.
Really?
So it's a big model.
What?
David was talking to me. I think it's $49.95 retail, and David's like, "Why is this so expensive?" And then the size comparison, its comparative mass is definitely it's big. So I love it. It's actually like 100% in scale. So it is a pretty awesome thing.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah.
So is the AT-AT going to be to scale?
Yes, it'll be a whole table.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you had it, it would be like at least 3
feet long?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe bigger than that. But so I guess that would be half of a Legion table. So Legion's played on a 6x3 instead of 6x4 because
that is weird to me.
it's Fantasy Flight's thing.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is we do carry 3x3 mats.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. You can pick up like a desert tile, like a desert 3x3, and then do a forest one. So it could be like a desert leading into a forest. Like you can change your biomes by doing like each dropping your own 3x3 mat.
But I immediately just imagine like, oh, you got your Star Wars X-wing mat, so you have like stars and the
Maybe not.
yeah, you can do 2 stars field on it for sure. So yeah, it's one of those nice things that's coming out with the game. Or I guess we haven't seen mats yet, but people are saying that using the Rune Wars mats that they came out with is one of the best bets instead of putting things on star fields.
Yeah.
Or half of Hoth.
Yeah.
But
be ready to hear nothing but Cantina music on repeat.
Oh God,
no,
yeah.
please.
We'll do it. So yeah, with that, Jeremy asks, is it just Rebel and Imperial? Yes, currently at the start, we only know of Rebel and Imperial. They're definitely going to flesh out those factions first.
Yep.
We don't know basically what timeline they're looking to do, whether it's just going to be original trilogy or if they're looking to expand it either into the prequels or the new trilogy that's coming out. I expect for them to stick to the original trilogy for a while, but to see other sub factions like Wookiees coming out or bounty hunters.
God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like, there's a lot of things that they can do completely within the Imperial and Rebel spheres, while giving you like sub factions. But we have had zero confirmation. I mean, the game's not even out yet, so expect at least the first 4 to 6 months to just be Rebel and Imperial.
Oh yeah.
Before you even hear of a new faction coming. So.
Well, I look forward very much to Droid Army because, oh man.
Oh yeah.
No, I would. So everyone will hate me, but I want Gungans to be an army.
Yes.
Because they have those dinosaur things with the shield generators on their back.
Yeah, I guess they're dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean they're aliens, so
How to kill a
yeah. So yeah, I would love to see that. I know one of my buddies is looking forward to Ewoks eventually becoming their own force.
Hell no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's on board. Like it's not as bad as Gungans, but yeah, it's
Yeah. So
I swear, if Porgs become a thing,
oh god.
yeah, I would play a Porg army. That could get Emily into the game.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, man. You'd lose every game as you get plastic.
So there's a lot of options that they can do for new armies in Legion. But I mean, as of right now, just take it as what it is. It is going to be Imperial versus Rebels. And just know that they might expand into other realms, right? So it is pretty exciting in terms of like new game. I want to say like it's getting a lot of comparisons to it has a lot of battle lore mechanics.
Yeah.
So if you guys have played battle lore, you might be familiar with how Legion's being set up, which is definitely like battle lore to me always had like cool miniatures and all that. I never got into the game, but someone explained to me that they took a lot of the battle lore mechanics and improved them. So a lot of the game is going to be based around your general of your army. So like with Imperial, we know Darth Vader, and then was it General Weiss or Voss? I can't remember. Will be one of your commanders, and they will give different buffs to your units. It will be kind of like central to the army, similar as like a Warcaster or a Warlock for War Machine and Hordes, where the game is going to be kind of centered around these heroes, giving out orders and things like that to the troops under their command. So we know Rebels have both Luke and Leia at the beginning.
Veers.
Was that
General Veers?
Veers, thank you. So it is. There's a couple expansions coming out, so it's you at least have some options when the game releases in terms of like your playstyle and all that. So it's not just going to be like battle box versus battle box slamming into each other time after time after time. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And once we get our demo set in, we should at least have one of the tables built up. So expect to have a table just set up to have Legion demos.
Who's painting it?
So the terrain is being painted by Matt Ballou. I don't know if we're going to have someone to paint the Rebel set. So it might be colored plastic. So we'll probably do like a quick prime and detail stuff on it. But
dibs on Imperials.
Yeah, right. It's like cool. Vader gets prime black, Stormtroopers white, done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so expect to see some stuff. I might be doing some painting streams with Legion.
Yes, please.
Trying to do probably Luke and Darth Vader because they're the characters. So
I don't know. We gotta know how to paint those Stormtroopers though, for real.
Yeah, I guess Stormtroopers would be a good one to do.
Actually, show us how to prime white without it messing up, because I always mess up my prime white.
Yeah, get an airbrush.
Yeah.
So it depends. The P3 white primer is the great unicorn of the hobby industry right now, because that was the most consistent white primer available. So yeah, that I don't think is going to be in production for a little bit. We'll have words on that later. But I've used other white primer, the Army Painter, actually matte white. I don't know what their formula is, but since it has like this bit of a gloss finish, it doesn't fuzz up nearly the same way as a lot of other white primers.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it called? Powdering? No.
Yeah, fuzzing, powdering, whatever.
The worst.
Yeah, so I think with something like Legion, where I want to have a good, quick white prime, I would probably go with an airbrush primer. just to, you know, make sure that it's a surefire, get this primed correctly. So that's what I would recommend for at least doing your Stormtrooper. If not, actually prime black, and then I think they have like a Fenrisian gray or a Space Wolf gray through either Army Painter or Games Workshop, and that I use a lot for my whites as a base coat to build up white on top of that. So
nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll be doing some demos. I'll be doing some painting demos of Legion while I try to learn the rules and all that. So look forward to that, because I think Legion will be probably the game to get into this year, in terms of you hobby guys that are maybe looking for a new tabletop war game to get into.
Yeah, I think the new scale for it will be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like finally having, I guess, really just bigger models.
Yes. Yeah. The bigger models should have more detail. The fact that they're no longer committed to doing like pre-assembled kind of thing means that you should be able to get more detail, more variety of poses, more craziness in each model itself. So definitely keep an eye on that. I'm excited. We'll probably have a lot of video of Legion as soon as we get the demo kit in. And I think, like we're saying, we're expecting to have it by March 8th. So keep an eye on that. You know, we'll obviously post up on Facebook the moment we get Legion in. So
yep, do an unboxing and all that good stuff.
Are you a Rebel or?
I'll be Imperial.
Imperial, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'll do Rebels to balance out Mark's Imperial.
Do Rebels have chicken walkers? No.
And speaking of getting new players into the game,
yes, yeah. So that's something. It's been something that's been on my mind for the last week or so. And this is like, so it was originally for War Machine and Hordes is how to get new blood into the game, but I think it applies to every game.
Yeah.
Like, especially when it comes to like a tabletop war game where it's not necessarily like a board game. But when you come down to it, like all of these tabletop games that are not following like a strict set of rules or a grid to follow, how you demo a game and how you get someone new into the game is actually a pretty tough question, right? So 40K, Age of Sigmar, War Machine and Hordes, Dust, they all have a lot of rules to them. And those... Well,
yeah.
So...
even though they simplify it,
it's still a lot of abstractions for someone who maybe doesn't necessarily play war games a lot. But I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts on like what gets you excited about a new game or what kind of experience you're looking for when you are getting into a new game. And it's not like saying like, you know, oh, I want the best army. This is like specifically for gameplay itself. Like when you're getting a demo, is it a satisfying demo to have your hand held the entire time where it's like someone explaining to you what you can do? Or is it a better experience for you to figure out what's going on in the game as you're learning like basically as you're teaching yourself while interacting with another opponent? So it's a tough question to answer because I know everyone's different, right? How I demo a game for Mark would be different than how I demo a game for, you know, David. So it's a tough question to answer, and it's something that I've been trying to figure out as a store to get people more motivated into a game, especially with a game as like deep as necessarily like 40K or War Machine and Hordes is. Like the amount of options that an individual has at any given moment is overwhelming for a new player. Yeah. So what's the best way to streamline and get something done? Or not get something done, but like get something into someone's head that they have an enjoyable experience and also learn about the game, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, to you, Mark, like when you're learning a new game, do you expect or do you prefer like a limited rule set where it's like, hey, these are your only options that you have?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
a lot of games will go with the here's your basic rules, here's your advanced rules, and I think that's definitely a model to follow. Like for example, with Dust, there was no suppression in the first one, so that's a rule that you can introduce later. And it's just with anything, like you look at video games, where it's like you've unlocked this move, you've unlocked this move, you've unlocked this move. It just continues, and as you add rules, you can just apply it to what you already know. Like just saying just dumping everything on a person at the very beginning is sometimes a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
But, game 1, you have the easiest experience of learning the basics. And in game 2, you add more things. In game 3, you add more things. As far as demos go, it is a little difficult to be like, hey, we're going to have 3 demos in a row. That's not going to happen. But at the same time, you can just say like, hey, we got through this demo. If you'd like, here are the rules we didn't use if you want to make yourself familiar with them.
Yeah, because I remember, like back in 7th edition, when we all did demos at DragonCon, we just cut the second phase.
Yeah,
like we're just like, all right, guys, like that is that is a level of complexity we do not need to cover for someone trying to get a demo in 30 to 45 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. And this is a question that's going to come up when Legion hits too. It's like, I'm hoping Fantasy Flight has a set system. To the game and all that sort of stuff, but yeah. Sorry, guys, we have a customer. One moment. But yeah, so it's one of those things where we it's figuring out what makes the experience enjoyable to a person and what core mechanics to get across to someone to say, hey, not only is this game different than everything else, but it's also enjoyable in its own separate experience. So, yeah, it's definitely a tough question, right?
Yeah,
what
it really is.
John, when you started playing 40K, what was your enjoyable experience? What was your enjoyable part of the demo like?
Oh my gosh.
You remember that far back when you got into everything?
No, yeah, I definitely remember that. I really only got into it in 8th edition. I waited because I'd heard 7th edition was so complicated. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait for 8th edition because it had been announced by the time I wanted to get into it. So I said, okay, if I wait for it, let me see how it plays. When you're first introduced to all the concepts, it's super overwhelming because if you don't play war games, you're like, well, why is it so many different steps? And why are there so many different things to do in each step? But I want to say, who gave me a demo? It might have been you.
Could be.
I think it might have been you, or I don't know. The person that got me into painting was Sean Twitty. But I think it was someone on staff that got me. It was either you or Mark, somebody that did an 8th edition one, and basically just simplified the things that you do in each phase. So I understood that there was the moving, I understood that there was the psychic thing, but we skipped it. And then basically when I got to see how the shooting worked, it ultimately was very simple. Basically, it was your goal is to shoot things and beat things in the face, and so here's how you do it. And then I was actually shown how to do it, and then I got to try doing it. So it was almost like it was out of sequence, I guess, but I got to feel what it was like to say, oh, that is a 4-up. That is a 4, 5, or a 6, and you hit the person. So roll your dice and see which ones of those are 4 and above. And as soon as I started doing that, I was like, oh, okay. I'm sort of conditioning my mind to understand either that concept through action. And I think for new players, when I introduced it like DragonCon, I showed them the first thing to do is I showed them roll your dice. Just start rolling dice and see what happens. Because the whole point of it is to see what happens when you're shooting things and killing things. And that was the thing that really struck out at me.
Yeah, and that's a good point to make, is having like clearly defined and accomplishable goals, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like in a war game, it's easy. Your goal is to myrtleize something else, right? Like, so the objective, no matter what it is, if you kill enough guys, you feel accomplished. You feel like you have done something. You have.
Even if you lose.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's something that we say is one of the best parts about Age of Sigmar, is the fact that you, no matter how the game goes, like I've never seen a 100% shutout of Age of Sigmar. Just people drop, guys die. It always feels like stuff is happening. The world feels very active and involved. Where it feels really upsetting to where like you're playing maybe 40K and you get blown off the table first round, right? And that was more so 7th edition than it ever was 8th edition. But yeah, it's having small accomplishable goals and doing something like that in 40K or WarmaHordes. Maybe going back to almost like video game-esque tutorials could be a great way of getting through some of the more complicated rules of the game, where it's like, all right, first turn, move your guys forward. You know, like second turn, that's when you're going to use your abilities or spells or whatever, and slowly break things down. But the person demoing is also going to have to not only be explaining how the person is, but also, especially in games like War Machine, like you're going to have to keep to the flavor of the rules than necessarily the like all the crazy stuff you can do with them. Like, you know, so instead of using a bunch of interactions to get the maximum, you know, threat distance or damage, it's like maybe just keep yourself to limited interactions with the rules as well, so the person can clearly understand and see what's going on with it. It's one of the nice things where with like dust and things like that, it's also, I think, helps so much with getting people into the game, where it's just like, you know, your options for movement are limited but are not less tactical, right? So it's just clear, it's a lot easier for the person getting demoed or the person doing the demoing to show the movement and necessarily like, hey, if you put this guy here, you're still only 3 squares away from my tank or my infantry unit.
You don't have to precisely measure your enemies with a tape measure.
Yeah.
And even like people that aren't really familiar with tabletop games, a lot of times like just the way they use tape measure, I'm like, all right, the easiest way, because they'll go like, all right, I can move 6 inches. They'll move to exactly 6 inches and place this bulky tape measure, like trying to get it around the mouse. No, just go out longer than that and find the 7-inch.
Yeah.
It's just without even having to mess with the tape measure is a really easy way to get people into games.
And that might be a way to actually improve demoing for games that don't necessarily use the dust style grid, but like, you know, there is now so many awesome like D&D mats and like hex grids and things like that, where it's like, hey, maybe for demos, like break it down to that grid and say, hey, you know, you can move 6 squares forward, you know, kind of thing. Really, you know, so it might be something that we try out in demos in the future to once again remove more peripherals and keep to the core essence of a game, because you don't want to have to teach someone how to properly use a tape measure when all they want to do is blow up some filthy Xenos, right? So using sticks or widgets or like, you know, something that's very easy to grasp and less intrusive, or like another skill set they have to learn, which is, I'm glad, like I think almost all games have gotten rid of or excuse me, all games have now included pre-measurement. So you can always check to see what your distances are. So you never have to teach that skill of gauging distances to a new player, which is fantastic. It is
a pretty major handicap for new players.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to shoot him, but I'm not allowed to see if I can shoot him.
So yeah, it's definitely one of those things that they are improving with the game, or with games in general, but it's, to me, the core, getting new people into the game is always the goal for not only us as a game store, but should be for the community in general. People playing 40K, I don't care what miniature game you are, if you are not inclusive and trying to grow your community, it will eventually die. You know, like it's just like changing the meta, just like adding new armies and doing all that sort of stuff. You need to add new blood into games on a consistent basis, or else things stagnate. And when I say new blood, I mean new armies, new rules, new people. They all need to be constantly flowing, or else people get sick and tired of, like, it's like, okay, cool, I guess it's Thursday, me and Mark are going to play against each other again, like, same armies, same time.
Like, have you got anything new? No.
So it eventually grinds out. But US 40K players, or War Machine players, or Dust, or board gamers, or whatever, think about your interactions as someone to get new people into a game, because that should always be your goal. If you see someone interested, invite them to come watch. You don't have to give them a demo right there, but say, like, watch me play this game of 40K. Like, it's like, I saw you looking at the model, so like, do you want to watch us play? I'll explain to you what's going on. I think that's a great way. That's generally how I like to learn, is I like to watch a lot of videos and demos and things like that before I even get on the table, because I don't like being 100% blind before I go in. So, but yeah, just appeal to your audience and appeal to new players, because we all want new players. We all want new people here. And I think that's something that people forget a lot when they're playing these games, is
one of my favorite things is just talk about the lore of whatever I'm playing.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
God. For the last like 2 weeks, I've been explaining War Machine and Hordes fluff to people, and I still need to work on that video. Starting with the lore. I need to get a big old tome that I can just like recite from.
Listen.
So yeah, I will be doing that with the fluff. Hopefully sometime soon, whenever I get free time. But yeah, so think about that. I'd love to hear more comments and thoughts about demoing and getting new people into games from our players or people from outside the community or game industry. Just let me know what your thoughts are on it. I'd love to hear new things, and I'd love to try new techniques to get new people into games.
Yeah, I did a survey a couple of months ago for new players that were at Giga-Bites who were new to wargaming, and the common theme that I found was, one, the main motivation for really getting into it and sticking with it was the lore and all about the universe. If any of the new players thought that it was really cool, like 40K or WarmaHordes, that it's like, oh, the lore is great, now I'll go ahead and invest the time to learn the rules. Whereas the ones who went with the rules first and didn't really know about the universe, they didn't stick around quite so much. So the new website's going to be released March 1st. And we have 4 sections, one for each type of tabletop gaming. Board gaming, war games, RPGs, and CCGs, collectible card games for the Magic side. And it literally has 4 parts to each one. The first one is, what is that genre? And then number 2 is prime examples of the genre. So 40K would be a prime example of the wargaming genre and why it's so successful and why people love it. And then number 3 is, how do I start into it? Like, what are the steps that a new player has to take from not knowing anything about wargaming to being able to play their first game of 40K? And then finally, step 4, or part 4, is how to get involved at Giga-Bites. So they'll get to know their champion of that game. So for 40K, it's Rob, right? Rob Bistro?
Yeah.
So you get to know Rob, and then you'll get to see the groups and then the different events that you can come to participate in, so that someone who has no idea about wargaming can figure out what it is, some specific examples, how to get into it, and how to get it involved at Giga-Bites. And that's for all 4 types. So I've been in over my head a little bit in creating videos for that and articles, because there's over 30 different videos and articles on the page.
That's awesome.
Right there is a little bit choppy right now. But so it's a lot of work, but it's going to be cool because you'll be able to send new players or people that you know that just have never gotten into board gaming, RPGs, whatever, send them to a specific article so that they can see it. And it'll be really useful. So the whole website's going to be basically around new players, and then current players get their player hub where we could see events, sign up for things, etc. That'll be the Play at Giga, will be the player hub. That way we all get to introduce new players in a nice organized system.
Get our communities to grow.
Yep.
Well, cool. It is past 12. We need to get the store up and running. We all got work to do.
Yeah.
But thank you guys very much for stopping in and joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you guys for feedback as always, and we look forward to seeing you guys at our events coming up. All right. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.